The smallest of Audi's S cars is the desirable little S1, a premium-priced supermini shopping rocket that offers a concentrated dose of quattro. There's more to this model than just all-wheel drive traction too. Other features unique amongst really compact hot hatches include adaptive damping and a properly potent 231 PS output, enough to power you to 62 miles an hour in under 6 seconds. In other words, though certainly an S1 may be small, it's definitely made of the right stuff. Four-wheel drive in a potent little hatchback offering around 230 PS beneath the bonnet is a formula that has worked well for Audi in the past. That's pretty much what their original S3 hot hatch offered when we first saw it back in 1999. A car these days much more powerful, but also far pricier. Beneath it, there's now space for an entry-level Audi S model to offer a more grown-up option in the smallest segment of a shopping rocket sector that in supermini size has never before offered four-wheel drive. Until now. Welcome to the S1. Yes, it costs the same as a bigger family hatchback-sized quick compact like a Golf GTI or a Ford Focus ST. No, you may not care about that because an S1 is slightly lighter, slightly quicker and comes with the added bonus of four-wheel drive. It's another example of the way that it can often make sense to downsize your fast hatchback by a class in order to get yourself something really special. Something like this. It's almost the first time Audi has offered quattro traction on something this small. Now I say almost because those of you who don't miss a trick might remember the brand's rather special A1 Quattro model from 2012, a low-volume 255 PS special, ambitiously priced at Porsche Cayman money and only offered in left-hand drive. Call that a toe in the water. While this S1 isn't quite as potent as the A1 Quattro, it has more torque, more class, has the steering wheel on the right side for our market, and costs 40% less. As a result, just like its namesake, the World Rally Championship winning Audi S1 of the 1980s, this car, launched here in the summer of 2014, promises to be a game changer for its maker. Let's put it to the test. So, what's it like? Well, as with all Audi S cars, pretty subtle to begin with. Fire the ignition and the engine spins into a fairly unassuming idle. Yes, there's a hint of a bit of extra bass from the exhaust, but nothing that's going to have your neighbours calling the environmental health out on you if you need to make an early start. The engine in question might even be familiar, the clean, crisp, purposeful 2-litre TFSI unit found right across the Volkswagen Group in products as diverse as the Seat Leon Cupra and the Porsche Macan SUV. It's also the power plant fitted to the next product up in the Audi S model ladder, the S3, though there the software's tweaked for a 300 PS output. Here it's restricted to just 231 PS, though that's still rather a lot for a supermini-sized hot hatch of this sort, in a segment where the class norm is a 1.6-litre engine putting out 200 PS. So how will a car this small, with this much power, react out on the road? Time to try it. It's just as well this S1 has that bit of extra poke because it must carry around a mechanical configuration previously unknown in this class of car, four-wheel drive. That's the thing that makes this Audi different from any other really compact shopping rocket, and it's also the thing that makes this particular model different from any other A1. After all, think about what an A1 is underneath. A glorified Volkswagen Polo with rudimentary torsion beam suspension at the back. Not the sort of thing likely to be able to support a powerful quattro all-wheel drive setup. In creating this car then, the Ingolstadt development team had to fundamentally re-engineer it. Hardly the work of a moment. But then building all-wheel drive into something this small was never going to be easy. That's why no one else in this market segment has bothered to do it. Even Audi needed a dry run at the job, the engineers producing an exorbitantly priced limited run A1 Quattro model in 2012 with a back axle borrowed from the brand's TTS sports car to support the Quattro package. Now that was all a bit mix and match. With this S1 though, the job has been done properly with a proper purpose-designed 4-link rear suspension package installed at the back, along with a clever hydraulic multi-plate clutch for a Quattro system that splits power 60-40 front to rear most of the time, but can divert as much as 50% of the torque rearwards if need be. True, the bulky mechanicals needed rob you of a bit of luggage space, but who cares about that when the result's this good? If you're one of those hot hatch purists who don't like the idea of four-wheel drive on a shopping rocket, then you need to try this car. For goodness sake, we live in a country where it rains on average over 200 days every year. Conditions in which theoretical rivals like Ford's Fiesta ST or Peugeot's 208 GTI would be spinning their front wheels impotently. If you paid the extra to own this Audi, things are very different. Whatever the weather, you point at the corner, you plant your foot, and it powers through. That clever clutch can talk to other electronic systems on the car to further help you out too. If the corner you're driving through suddenly tightens, the stability control will be told to imperceptibly brake the inside rear wheel to keep you from drifting wide. And if you're trying to slow the car quickly from high speed, extra braking force will be added in to maintain stability. Where Audi's cleverness ran out though was when it came to the transmission. Now you'd expect the option of the brand's clever dual-clutch S-tronic paddle-shift automatic gearbox on a powerful Quattro car. You won't get it here. That trick transmission would have shoved another 25 kilograms over this S1's nose, which would have been a bit too much for the front axle. So, as a result, a stick-shift manual box is the only option. You'll certainly need to be pretty quick at grabbing for gears because this car will demolish the sprint to 62 miles an hour in just 5.8 seconds. And that's about a second quicker than something comparably sized like a Ford Fiesta ST, a Peugeot 208 GTI or a Mini Cooper S. And about half a second quicker than something larger like a Golf GTI. In the dry, of course. In the wet, none of the cars I've just mentioned would even see which way this Audi went. It's the in-gear response, though, that's probably most impressive. With 370 Nm of torque on tap, that's just 10 Nm less than you get in the larger Audi S3, there's around 30% more pulling power than you get in something like a Fiesta ST, a difference that really shows itself when you're powering forward in second or third, say on the exit of a slow corner or on a motorway entry ramp. Now, as a result, point-to-point motoring can be very rapid indeed, though for this you'll need to choose your driving settings carefully. Now, by that, I mean those from this car's standard Drive Select system, one of those that can alter the feel of the car to suit the road that you're on and the mood that you're in. This welcome package offers two main settings, efficiency and dynamic, plus an auto option if you can't be bothered to decide between them. As usual, the engine management system and the air conditioning are tweaked to match the mode chosen. But more importantly, your selection will also deliver another feature never previously seen on a sporting car this small, namely adaptive dampers that either firm up or soften the ride. Select dynamic, and these really do make the suspension very firm indeed, to the point where I can't think of many times when I'd want to use this setting away from a racetrack. And that's a pity, because it also releases a rortier engine note that really gives the 2-litre TFSI unit a chance to breathe. Another reason why you probably wouldn't frequently select dynamic is that all the other modes are already pretty firm, especially if you opt for the larger 18-inch alloy wheels fitted to the model that I'm driving here. In other words, whichever way you go with the setup of this car, you're going to need to be a typical hot hatch customer to like it. If you are, then you might wish for a little extra feedback from the grippy three-spoke wheel. Other rivals offer greater precision and involvement. But don't despair, this is overall still one of Audi's better, more rewarding, more driver-centric efforts. And if you want, you can switch all the nannying driver aids off and smoke the tyres a bit. In which, guys, this car will be as mad and bad as you'd ever want it to be. If you were expecting bulging quattro-style wheel arches and big spoilers, then you might at first be a little disappointed by this S1. This car's got the extra cost quattro exterior styling pack fitted, with its bigger rear spoiler, larger wheels and gloss black roof. Without that, to be honest, I might struggle to tell it apart from a more ordinary, sportily trimmed A1 model. Unless, of course, I was able to park an A1 and an S1 side by side. It's then that you'll really appreciate the differences. Yes, all the sheet metalwork on the S1 is the same, but the front end benefits from a deeper front bumper with a larger set of air intakes, a unique S-design grille, and these lovely Xenon Plus headlights that make such a difference when driving at night on unfamiliar country roads. This car sits lower to the road too, hunkered down over its larger alloys in a really aggressive stance, an effect further aided by these S side skirts, which reinforce the impression of the car being sucked onto the tarmac. Other S1 identifiers include the bespoke branded brake calipers and trademark Audi S car aluminium effect mirror caps. Moving around to the back, you'll spot this dynamic roof spoiler and this purposeful rear diffuser that incorporates no fewer than 4 oval tailpipes. Plus, you get these jewel-like rear lamps that emit an intense deep red colour thanks to no fewer than 54 super red LEDs. Now, as you can see, I've opted for the 5-door Sportback body style rather than the standard 3-door version. With the Sportback, you get the option of the contrasting roof that I mentioned earlier, and more importantly, a differently angled C-pillar and a more upright tailgate that together make a significant difference to rear seat space. There's certainly more headroom than I was expecting here. Scalloped cutouts indented into the head lining also play their part in delivering 11mm more cranium space than you get in the 3-door variant. Plus, there's 13mm more shoulder room too. Now, with all that said though, I don't want to mislead you. For rear seat occupants, this isn't a spacious cabin. Because there's the same wheelbase, whichever A1 shape you choose, you'll find both leg and elbow room restricted. And there's the awkwardness of a bulky central transmission tunnel. Further bad news comes with Audi's annoying decision not to offer S1 buyers the 3-person, 3-seat belted rear bench that you can get on all other A1 Sportback models. So this rear section can only take 2, a major problem for a family man like me. And up front, well, it's an Audi, isn't it? Which inevitably means a look and feel much nicer than you'll find in a rival Ford, Peugeot or Renault. There are a few irritations. Enthusiasts will rue the poor placement of brake and throttle pedal for race-style heel and toe gear changes, and everyone will question the need for such tiny door pockets. The overall cabin concept doesn't feel quite so far ahead of its rivals these days either, with trim quality you might even suggest to be slightly lacking in areas like the base of the doors and the handbrake shrouding. It's still a beautifully designed interior though, with a dash section apparently modelled on aircraft wings and large circular air vents that are finished in high gloss black and styled to resemble jet engines. The centre console, meanwhile, is supposed to be based on the rear of a sailing ship. It all sounds very daring and avant-garde, but in reality the finished result is actually quite conservative. You could be in any of Audi's larger models with exemplary build quality and a delightful finish to everything that you see and touch that's a world away from what you'd find even on a Mini or a cheaper BMW. Take these lovely knurled metal heater controls, or the neat 6.5-inch retractable MMI infotainment screen, though here it doesn't automatically glide silkily out of the top of the dash as it would do on an S3. The question though, with this car's high price tag in mind, is whether it all feels enough of a cut above any ordinary A1 model. The answer is that it depends on what you're looking for. You'll certainly search in vain for G-meters, boost gauges, leery coloured seatbelts or fake carbon fibre nonsense. Audi leaves all that sort of thing to cheaper try-hard rivals and instead offers up a package of subtler touches. S1 logos on the floor mats, the door sills, the seats and the infotainment screen. Then there are the aluminium inserts, the LED interior lighting package and the pedal caps fashioned from brushed stainless steel. Oh, and a purposeful set of white needled grey instrument dials viewed through a leather trimmed 3-spoke sports steering wheel that has contrast stitching. There's more contrast stitching on the cloth and leather trimmed seats, though in standard form these could offer a little more support, and that's one reason why I'd suggest that you consider the S Sports seats that I'm trying here with their integrated head restraints and fine Napa leather upholstery. Now these feature much deeper bolsters and they grip you a lot better, plus they look fantastic and will probably be a key feature that potential S1 buyers will be looking for when shopping for a used example of this car. You can order these chairs separately or have them as part of the pricey Quattro interior package that I've got here, that also gives you a flat bottom steering wheel, air vents featuring red inner rings and colour-coded seat backrests. And luggage space? Well, the bespoke mechanicals needed to engineer in this car's Quattro system have certainly slightly compromised things here. Whereas a standard A1 would give you a 270-litre boot, an S1 offers just 210 litres, regardless of the body style you choose. In the compact hot hatch segment, only Fiat's Abarth 595 delivers less, and even the basic boot of a Mini Cooper S is 30% bigger. It'll certainly be enough to make some potential buyers wonder whether it might be worth trading up to an Audi S3 model with a cargo bay some 60% larger. If you can make do with the room on offer in this S1, then you'll probably want to be able to make the best use of it by paying extra for the optional luggage package that I have here. This features divided storage compartments under the loading floor, though unfortunately in this case they're mainly taken up with the optional Bose sound system. Fold down the split folding rear bench and this S1 fares a little better. Again, the total capacity falls over that of a standard A1, down from 920 to 860 litres. But that figure is at least a lot more class competitive, 20% bigger than you get in that Mini Cooper S I mentioned earlier, and not much different from the capacity you'd expect this configuration to provide in a Fiesta or Clio class car. It all really depends on where your priorities lie. If you're seeking to justify the cost of this car to yourself, it's helpful to remember that it's essentially the same as the limited run left-hand drive A1 Quattro model that Audi produced in 2012, which sold for over £40,000, which makes the £25,000 asking price of this fully fledged production S1 look very good value. Back in the real world, though, that still remains an awful lot to pay for a supermini-based hot hatch, even if it is as quick as the car on offer here. And remember, you'll need to add around £730 to that tally if, like me, you'd prefer the extra flexibility that this 5-door sportback body style gives you over the standard 3-door version. Either way, you're looking at having to pay £5,000 or more over the asking price of a conventional small GTI, cars like Ford's Fiesta ST or the Renault Sport Clio 200. But then look at what you get in return. Greater power for a start. You get a properly sized 2-litre engine rather than the kind of little 1.4 or 1.6-litre unit everyone else in the smallest hot hatch segment offers. And this TFSI power plant delivers at least 30 PS more grunt than that kind of opposition can provide. Plus, if it's damp, this S1's advantage over other little shopping rockets will further increase, since it's the only car in this class with 4-wheel drive. Still not convinced? Well, maybe you will be by the fact that this Audi's greater build quality and badge equity will lead to residual values that'll claim back most of its upfront premium over any typical ownership period. It all means that if funds permit, you may well feel that this is a better bet than a conventional small GTI. The tougher question, though, is whether an S1 would also be preferable to the kind of larger Golf or Megane-shaped hot hatch model that, after all, you could certainly have for much the same kind of money, say a Golf GTI or a Megane Renault Sport, maybe even a Seat Leon SC Cupra. Even here, though, the Audi proposition remains tempting. Yes, an S1 is smaller than something family hatch-sized, but it's also a little faster. And again, there's the unique selling point of the kind of 4-wheel drive system that's a real boon in our changeable climate. From a personal perspective, it's all-wheel drive that would really sell me this Audi. And if it's a non-negotiable feature for you in a compact performance car, then your only real alternative to an S1 is to find a plumper £30,000 budget for something like a Subaru Impreza WRX STI, a Volkswagen Golf R, or Audi's own 300 PS S3. Frankly, I think the S3 is this S1 model's biggest threat to sales. Add a few extras to this car to create an example like the one that I have here, and you'd quickly find yourself paying S3 money. And for S3 money, I think I'd rather have an S3, particularly as that car can offer an S-tronic auto gearbox option. Engineering complications have meant that this S1 is a manual model only. But I digress. We're talking about the S1, and in my view, £25,000 is far from an unreasonable ask for a car this talented. It's also very well equipped as standard. Clearly, most of the budget has been spent on the parts that matter, like the engine, the custom rear suspension, the quattro chassis and the drive select system with its adjustable dampers, a setup that allows you to fully tweak the response of the car to the mood that you're in and the road that you're on. Mind you, that doesn't mean to say that Audi came up dry when applying the finishing touches. Outside, S1 specific bits include parallel spoke S-design alloy wheels of at least 17 inches in size, plus a range of S-design body styling touches and an S roof spoiler. Move inside and you'll find part leather S1 embossed seats, a 3-spoke multifunction sports wheel, door sills with bespoke aluminium inlays, lovely stainless steel pedals and a unique gear knob. You also get electronic climate control, automatic lights and wipers, and a full LED interior lighting package. That's on top of refinements you'd find shared with some other A1 models, like Xenon Plus headlights, as well as Bluetooth phone connectivity that you activate via a 6.5-inch manually retractable folding dashboard screen, the kind of touch a Fiesta ST owner could only dream about. It's from here that you control the standard 6-speaker audio setup with its iPod connection, SD card reader and aux-in socket, though the system only puts out 180 watts, possibly because Audi wants customers to be tempted into paying the extra for the thumping 465-watt 14-speaker Bose surround sound package that I'm trying here. As for other options, well, probably the main issue you'd have as a buyer is whether to tick the boxes for the expensive Quattro exterior and interior styling packages that together have increased the cost of the car I have here by over 10%. The outward embellishments are certainly tempting, with larger 18-inch wheels, red touches to the brake calipers and headlights, a larger rear spoiler, aluminium highlights in the bumper blade, and a roof arch and roof dome painted in high gloss black. Personally, I'd be less bothered about the Quattro interior package, which gives you the S sports seats with their integrated headrests, and that's a feature that you can order separately, plus a flat-bottom steering wheel, air vents featuring red inner rings, some extra trim highlights, and colour-coded seat backrests, finished in either black, red or yellow. It's all down to personal taste, of course, and as you'd expect, there's plenty of opportunity for personalisation with this car. First, when it comes to colour, brilliant black is the only standard shade offered. Plus, there's a glacier white roof trimline option and the chance for sportback buyers to specify the roof in contrasting silver, grey or black. In compensation, buyers of the 3-door version get the option of an opening panoramic glass top. Inside, you can also personalise the trim around the air vents, the gear lever and the door handles. Other options include leather trim, heated seats, a keyless entry and starting system, satellite navigation, and 2 levels of parking assistance that remind me of my expectation that a basic set of parking sensors would be included as standard for this kind of money. I'd also have expected to find cruise control and a hill hold assist feature to stop you drifting backwards on uphill junctions. All these things will cost you extra. As of course will all the really high-tech stuff. The Audi phone box is a nice touch, allowing you to boost your mobile phone signal through the car's navigation unit. Or you could go further still and tick the box for the Audi Music Interface and MMI Navigation Plus package that gives you a higher resolution colour display connected to a 40GB hard drive that can store up to 8,000 songs. The package also includes an SDHC card reader, a DVD player and speech recognition technology. The top package, though, is the one that I have fitted here. Mobile phone preparation high with Audi Connect. It's able to turn your S1 into a WLAN, that's wireless local area network, hotspot, so that you can surf the internet and email with up to 8 mobile devices. This also brings into play features such as navigation with images from Google Earth and Google Street View, a Google Points of Interest search function with voice control, and a web radio setup so that you can tune into stations all around the world. There's also a clever Audi online traffic information system that uses live traffic information to reroute you around jams. Truly, this is motoring in the 21st century. Finally, safety provision is as complete as you'd expect it to be in a premium-priced Audi model. True, there's no driver's knee bag, but twin front, side and curtain airbags are all present and correct, as are ISOFIX child seat points, anti-whiplash head restraints, tyre pressure monitoring and all the usual braking and traction aids. These include an EDL electronic differential lock to promote precise vehicle control and optimum traction, and an ESC stability control system with an interim sport setting that'll still help you out if ambition outweighs your talent. For wet conditions, there's also a brake drying system that, by intermittently and very lightly automatically applying the brake pads, keeps them continually dry and ready for optimum disc contact. Options include a high beam assist feature to automatically dip your headlights for you in the face of oncoming traffic. If, like I would be, you're wondering whether it really might be worth stretching to a 300 PS Audi S3 if you're going to find the budget required for this 231 PS S1, then here's an interesting fact to consider. There's absolutely no difference between the two cars when it comes to fuel and CO2 returns. So, just as with Ingolstadt's larger, more powerful Quattro hot hatch, this one delivers 40.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 162 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. The two models share the same 2-litre TFSI engine. It's only a software tweak that ups its power output in the S3. Perhaps of more interest, though, to potential buyers is how these figures stack up against the hot hatch class norm. Now, you might expect the S1 to struggle a little. After all, no direct rival has to carry around the extra weight of a four-wheel drive system, and the supermini-sized GTI competition uses smaller 1.4 or 1.6 litre turbo engines. On top of that, engineering constraints have prevented Audi from offering its more efficient S-tronic twin-clutch automatic transmission system, so it's a stick-shift-only range. In the event, the running cost penalties imposed by this S1 aren't too off-putting. It's certainly far cheaper to run than, say, a Megane Renault Sport or a Subaru WRX STI, and offers pretty similar stats to those you'd see from potential two-wheel drive rivals like BMW's 125i M Sport or Seat's Leon SC Cupra. True, you'd get 7 or 8 miles more from every gallon while putting out around 15% less CO2 in a similarly sized Ford Fiesta ST, a Peugeot 208 GTI or a Mini Cooper S. But then these are less powerful two-wheel drive models. They're also cars that will depreciate much more heavily. The only way you can really lose with this S1 when it comes to residuals is if you load it up with pricey extras. Of course, as with any hot hatch, on those occasions that you drive the car in the manner intended, you won't get anywhere near the quoted figures. But in between bouts of red mist motoring, the quoted stats ought to be relatively achievable if you click the Drive Select system into its efficiency mode and keep an eye on the efficiency indicator in the driver information system. Insurance is Group 33E. Before dismissing the Audi S1 as an expensive indulgence, ask yourself this: how much space do you really need in your hot hatch? Yes, for similar money, you could buy a slightly larger car of this kind, something from the next size up, like a Golf GTI or a Megane Renault Sport, maybe an Astra VXR or a Focus ST. The question is whether you really need to. Typical buyers, after all, don't usually choose their shopping rockets prioritising rear seat room or boot capacity. So what if you could trade a little of that and get something far more useful in return? All-weather traction. Plus, if as well you could get a little more speed and residuals offering a lower set of running costs, you'd be all set. Such is the appeal of this S1. It's not perfect, of course. On a dry road, some larger or less powerful models in this segment might feel a little more involving, and maybe there'd be better track day tools too. It's also hard to ignore the fact that in buying this car, you'll be paying around 20% more than you would be for a comparably sized Fiesta or Clio class GTI. In return, though, you're getting something quite special. A proper quattro-driven Audi S car that can hit 155 miles an hour and get to 62 miles an hour in less than 6 seconds, yet will nevertheless better 40 miles to the gallon and emit just 165 grams per kilometre of CO2. That kind of formula, at this kind of price, just wouldn't have been possible a few years ago. Now it can be sitting in your driveway. Small, but almost perfectly formed.